Happy Friday, degenerates. Welcome back to the Undefeated post-weigh-in show, UFC 292 edition. Big ass pay-per-view going on tomorrow, and we're taking shots, baby. You know, we are this close to the 100-unit profit mark. And if all goes well this weekend, I'm hoping we're going to break that. Everybody get in here, smash the like button if you haven't already. This is Pub Sports Radio. The show is powered by lines from Bet Openly. I did a giveaway for everybody on Bet Openly. We gave away 20 free entries to a contest. And I hope some of you that won the contest entries are watching this, because I've got a bit of a conundrum. They do these $10 buy-in contests, winner-take-all format. You do pick-ems. It's usually 5 UFC fights, and it's just whoever picks the most correct gets the pot. It's almost like setting up a parlay. It's real fun, easy way to make money. Unfortunately, they only do it with odds that are better than -175, so everybody's not just picking chalk and everyone just ties because they all have the exact same options. There aren't enough fights at UFC 292 for the contest to go through on Bet Openly, because everything is chalked to hell. It's all these big -300 favorites. So I'm trying to decide, do we just give the winners the $10 and let them bet with it the way they want? Or do we roll it over and do a contest next week? I don't know. I got to figure it out. That's my problem, not yours. If you won the contest, I hope you're listening so you kind of understand what's going through my head right now. But everybody live in the chat, we're here to watch some face-offs. Let's talk about it. My guy D in the house. What's up, buddy? Nonstop Philly. We got Rob. We got Lucid. Gagnon. Bill Withers in the house. What's up, buddy? Let's pick together. And of course, my guy Dream. I see you all here hanging out in the chat. Let's get this bad boy started. So first fight of the night, Mayra Moroz takes on Karine Silva. Both women coming in at 125 pounds. Moroz, no problem for her. She looked good, great shape, very relaxed. As much as everyone wants to go to the OnlyFans fade, she seems very, very professional when she's in her UFC gear. Karine Silva, big old flex. This girl's got some big old beefy arms on her. That's the first thing I always notice here. Moroz looked extremely confident. Slight height advantage for her. Silva had this weird blank face thing going on where she was just kind of looking past her opponent, staring off into the ether, wondering what's going through her head. That hair, I cannot believe she has that much hair. It's like Sean O'Malley's ×6. Like, it's really unreal what that woman has on top of her head. So I have a +130 Moroz, +138 Moroz ticket in my pocket right now for 1 unit. I'm on the dog, but I got to tell you guys, after doing the Sharp Action Report with my guy Andrew, which, by the way, you can find right here on Pub Sports Radio. Check that out if you haven't already. We go over the sharp and public spots from the bookie's perspective. There's been a lot of action on Moroz. She seems to be everybody's favorite dog this week. Everybody agrees with me that she's got the higher level of experience. She should be able to stay defensively solid in this spot, and yet that line is not moving. And I don't know, like, there's a lot of us on gambling Twitter these days. There's a lot of us that do these YouTube breakdowns, and you'd think all the money coming from all of us on the same side would be enough to make the bookies think about maybe moving it just a smidge, and it's not budging, and that scares the ever-living piss out of me. So this is a spot where okay, just so you guys know, I'm now officially 2-2 on my cash outs. I hate cashing out. I don't like cashing out. I will almost never cash out. Last week was an exception because I saw a walking dead fighter on the scale, and that's the only reason I cashed out of that bet. So I'm not doing this one here. I am not cashing out of my Moroz bet. I am going to diamond hands right until I die here. Hope that my analysis is correct, and hope that even though I am swimming with the fishes, we're all headed the same direction and we're all seeing the same right things. Of course, Silva's got that submission offense that could basically just snap anybody off on the very first takedown. And it's been a long time since these two fought the first time. So I'm praying Munhoz is the goods on Saturday, but I have a real bad feeling about that play. So that's the read. Weigh-ins really didn't change a damn thing. I'm just getting cold feet because of all the action coming in on the same side without the line being affected by it at all. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Rob. I do think Silva's gas tank is shit. And that's kind of the thing is we've seen her get extended. She slows down when she does. She's found a way to like Hail Mary jump guillotine her way out of it recently. So she has been able to get past it, even though she's starting to slow down, starting to tire out. I'm hoping Munhoz can stay safe until she slows down and then put a beating on her. Anyway, next fight up, Andrea KGB Lee takes on Natalia Silva. Another fight at 125 pounds. Hi, Jacqueline. How you doing? Thanks for coming to the show. We've got the same old from Andrea KGB Lee. She looks good up there. Good solid flex. No problems from her. Natalia Silva, adorable. It's not fair how adorable she is and also is such a badass. You can't be both. I guess you can if you just, life's easy for some people. No, she's got absolutely jacked arms and then this cute smile on her face. Height advantage goes to KGB in this spot. Real good face off. I've talked about this one all week. This one makes me nervous. So KGB has never been finished. She doesn't get rocked all that often. She's been submitted once. She's solid. She's solid everywhere. And this is a big step up in competition for Natalia Silva. Now, I personally believe that she can pass this test, but I do think KGB is going to have something to say about it. I think it's going to be a close competitive fight. I've said this all week. I just don't think I want to lay 3-1 on Natalia Silva. Just be careful on this one this week, folks, because KGB Lee goes to splits with like everybody. High end of the division, low end of the weight class, doesn't matter. She's fighting competitively, high volume, high action, decent wrestling, decent takedowns, good scrambles. Like, what's not to love about KGB and the way she fights? Like, she's been on the wrong side of a couple splits recently. I don't want to lay minus 300 against somebody who's in like a desperate need to get right type of spot and fights well against everybody. So staying off for me. I'm expecting Silva to get her hand raised. Bad price tag, in my opinion. Next up, you've got Gerald Meerschaert taking on Andre Petrowski. We got Meerschaert 185, Andre 186. And honestly, Gerald Meerschaert looked really good. No stress, looked healthy. He's had a couple rough weigh-ins recently, and he looked really good up there today. Andre Petrowski looked absolutely jacked. On the other hand, this dude is huge, very intense on the scale today. Big flex. When these guys faced off, this was a good faced off. I mean, Meerschaert's got the height advantage here in this spot. He's kind of the taller, lankier build, though, and we know Andre's a little bit broader than his opponent here in this spot. Seemed very respectful. I did take the dog shot early in the week here on Gerald Meerschaert. I think he's had kind of a rough go of it recently, but this is a decent little break in competition, in my opinion. And it's exactly the kind of guy he's had success against in the past. My feel has not changed on this fight whatsoever. Yes, we are kind of trusting Gerald Meerschaert's chin at this extended stage of his career, which is always a terrifying thing to do, but it's a small one-unit shot. I'm not going balls deep. This is not a huge aggressive play or anything like that. We're just looking for one unit on Gerald Meerschaert to get it done. I do think there's a chance with higher activity, more damage, maybe he can win a decision. Not overly likely. Inside the distance is probably his best chance at victory, and it's probably a round 2, round 3 sub. He's got pop in his hands, though, so you can never really count out the club before the sub just getting it done, or a ground and pound situation. He usually tends to jump on a neck at that point, though. I'm hoping Petrowski's gas tank starts to fail him in the second round, and Gerald can kind of jump on it at that point. I also, on that note, don't really mind the over 1.5. I don't think that Gerald is so shot that Petrowski's going to one punch him. He could, but Petrowski's nowhere near as slick of a striker as the last couple of guys Meerschaert's fought, and he really loads up on that overhand right. Like, even a guy who isn't the best at avoiding punches like Meerschaert should be able to see those coming and get out of the way. We'll find out. We will find out, though. We got some more people rolling in here. What's up, everybody? Joe Free, how's it going? Thank you very much, my guy. Grabbing a t-shirt as soon as we hit 100 units. Let's do it this weekend, man. We've got a gross infection. What's up? Took me a minute. Too many letters all slammed there together. All right, everybody. Let's move this bad boy along. Cody Gibson, Brad Katona, both guys made 135. And Gibson looked really good up on the scales. He looked fantastic. Brad Katona, I mean, he looks like the guy that plays what, Zuckerland, the Zombieland guy. Like, what, he looks like he could slot right into that role. I don't know why he looks so much like that guy. Big flex, no issues from him. Decent size advantage from Gibson. Gibson is a bigger guy in this spot. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I wasn't really expecting that. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you guys, I couldn't give two shits about this fight. Haven't looked into it, haven't researched Gibson. I don't know what he can or can't do. I didn't watch the most recent episodes of this season of Tough. So I'm at a complete loss on this one. I started digging into PFL rather than looking into Brad Katona and Cody Gibson. So forgive me for that, but I don't even have a read on this fight. Brad Katona is the name value guy that I know. Beyond that, I wouldn't be able to tell you much here. So, I'm not even going to give a pick. I do apologize. I guess there are people out there that like track the picks or whatever. I guess I'll pick Brad Katona for the sake of that, but I'm getting my money nowhere near this fight. I have no idea what either of these guys is capable of. Shout out to Lenny with the $4.99 donation. Thank you very much, Lenny. We appreciate you. What percentage would you give for Marlon Chito Vera to win? Man, if I had to put a percentage on it, I mean, this is going to sound stupid. It's going to sound really dumb, but I'm up in like the 80% ballpark. I mean, I know a lot of people are really heavy on the dog in this spot. A lot of people are taking that dog shot, and we'll get there. We'll talk about Cheeto here in just a little bit. But I know there's a lot of like minus 300 favorites on the card. I think Cheeto is getting a little disrespected in this spot because of some of his previous performances. Munhoz really is a tailor-made matchup for him. Like, they're going to go leg kick for leg kick, except he's got the longer legs. They're going to go chin for chin, except Vera's more durable. And then Pedro doesn't wrestle. So Cheeto's not going to have to worry about being on his back. He's going to have more activity and he's going to be longer. So I think he's going to chip away at this guy who's getting older and slowing down and getting wobbled by guys like Dom Cruz. It's Cheeto all day for me, baby. I already laid the hammer. Like, I chalked up on the money line at minus 185. We're going way out of order, but that's what we do for people who support Pub Sports Radio here with the donation. So thank you very much, my friend. I hope that answers your question. I am heavily invested in Chito Vera, and I do have one unit on him inside the distance as well, because I think he'll be the first guy to crack the chin of Pedro Munhoz. Next up, you have got Kurt Holoba taking on Austin Hubbard. Holoba made 155.5, and then Austin Hubbard 155 on the dot. Kurt looked good on the scales today. Very intense. You've got Austin Hubbard, who's rocking the 8-pack. He's got that tall, skinny torso, and he's got the extra abs to go with it. Austin Hubbard's my guy. I love this kid. I don't know why. I've got a thing for Hubbard. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well. I agree with him being the slight chalk. I liked him better at like minus 165, minus 170. Now he's up to like minus 195, minus 200. I don't know that I would lay that on him in this spot because he does tend to fight a little close. He's another one of these guys that takes a minute to kind of get going, starts a little slow, and then he starts to piece his opponent apart and work his way into the fight the deeper it goes, using that cardio, using the counter grappling. I just don't think that Kurt's going to get the clean fight that he needs to really show out like he did when he was on The Ultimate Fighter. Austin Hubbard's not the guy that's going to stand right in front of him and let him touch him with everything he throws. And he's going to get fire coming back at him in this one. I don't know that we see a late finish. I could see Holoba maybe kind of quitting in there, unfortunately. So maybe like a round 3 or decision prop is good for Austin Hubbard, but I think it'll go the full 15. Hubbard by decision is the prediction here in this spot. I'm not sure he can get a finish, but we will find out. Again, no real investment for me on that one. I don't have a great feel on it. And Holoba's a guy that I just don't think is UFC caliber. That's kind of really all it comes down to. I think he was barely UFC caliber in his prime. Now he's 36. He's starting to kind of edge off the deep end there. So it all comes down to whether or not Hubbard really is UFC caliber, because if he's not, this is a very close competitive fight. Next up, you have got Gregory Rodriguez taking on Dennis Tululian. Gregory Rodriguez 186, Dennis 185 on the dot. And you guys know Hobocop, the dude is jacked. He's huge for this weight class. No problems today. We see so many people struggle on the scales, and RoboCop just doesn't ever look like he has a problem. I don't know how he does it. He's got so much muscle on a massive frame, and he just makes it look like it's easy. Dennis comes in here, nothing really to report there. he looked fine. He didn't look overly impressive one way or the other, didn't look stressed, didn't look strained. I mean, really, it was just a very neutral weigh-in for him there. Size advantage goes to RoboCop, but not by much. I mean, this is a spot where I always expect Gregory Rodriguez just to kind of tower over his opponents. Dennis is a big guy. Dennis was sizing up pretty well there with Gregory Rodriguez. So I can always see RoboCop getting knocked out. I've told you guys this before. He doesn't have any idea what striking defense is, and he relies on his chin, which is not very good, so he can get cracked and put down. However, I know it's been making the rounds, so you guys all probably heard it, but somebody did an interview with Gregory Rodriguez, and he talked about how he fell in love with his hands. He fell in love with his knockout power. We see that happen to grapplers from time to time. You get that taste, you get that one big knockout, and you go, ooh, like there's something about that sensation that guys that have been choking people out their entire lives, they get one knockout and suddenly they're like, they just want to keep doing it. And that's what happened to Gregory Rodriguez here. So he kind of promised that he's a mixed martial artist, yes, but he needs to get back to his roots. He needs to get back to the ground game. He needs to get back to the grappling. And I think that's why the submission prop at plus 225 is actually a really solid bet, because Dennis is a fish out of water on the ground. Now, obviously, Gregory could clip him on the feet, definitely has a chance there. He could ground and pound him. So if he wins that way, he could do that. But it seems like he's going to put some kind of emphasis on his grappling in this fight on Saturday. And if he does that, he should smoke Dennis. Like, the guy just doesn't have any idea what to do when it gets to the floor. And Gregory Rodriguez is like a world-class submission grappler. So fully expect RoboCop to go ahead and get a sub here. I expect it's probably going to be early. Yet, Rob, I actually think it would be more like round 1 or 2 rather than round 2 or 3. Like, I just don't think it's going to take that much effort for him to outclass Tululian once it hits the ground. Now, the problem is, and again, this is why I caution you guys, I'm not parlaying Gregory Rodriguez this week. Like, he should win this fight 90% of the time, but you can't trust the guy. You can't trust him as far as you can throw him. And I don't know if you've seen him. He's big. I couldn't hip toss him 6 inches if I wanted to. The guy just doesn't follow a game plan. And if you get somebody like that, it's incredibly difficult to trust them with your money. I would be looking for an inside the distance prop. Don't parlay him up. Don't lay that giant chalky price inside the distance, or take that sub prop. Like, those are kind of your choices to bring that price down, and make sure whatever investment you do decide to sack up on with Gregory Rodriguez is small enough that it's not connected to anything else, unless it's like a Hail Mary shot or something like that. Just like I said, last week with Hakeem, I tried to warn you guys. On Hakeem last week. That's Gregory this week. Like, the guy could fuck up everything. All right. Brad Tavares takes on Chris Weidman coming up next. Tavares, 185 pounds. Chris Weidman, 186. Brad looks strong up there. He did his classic, one arm flex, one arm up thing. That's what he likes to do. And then you've got Chris Weidman, the All-American, coming off a long layoff, coming off a leg break. It was good to see him weigh in. He looked actually pretty good. I'm surprised. He took a couple of real big, deep breaths, but I think that's just the nervous energy. I don't know that it was... He moved up to 205 before he left because he was hating his life cutting weight down to 185. So it is a tough cut for him at this stage, I do believe. However, I think it was mostly just him absorbing the moment, having those nerves, shaking it off a little bit. It's been a long time since he's done this thing, so I don't want to read too far into that whole situation. Chris does have a size advantage here in this spot. It's pretty notable. I actually have a parlay with Brad Tavares already set up. He is tied to Ian Garry later on in the event, and I like it. I really do. I think Brad Tavares should be able to win this fight. I don't think Chris Weidman's gas tank is all that impressive at this stage of his career. And coming off the leg break, we don't know how that's going to affect him in the cage. He's obviously got the wrestling advantage. He's obviously got the size advantage. So he could come in here and just smother and wet blanket Brad Tavares on Saturday. It's completely possible. However, you'll not catch me dead trusting somebody at 39 years old off a 3-year leg break layoff in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to ever find a bet on Chris Weidman in this spot. I will only look to fade somebody coming off in this exact circumstance. If he comes back from this, he's just something else. He's just absolutely incredible if he comes back and wins this fight, because even though Brad Tavares has not looked stellar in his last couple of fights, he's still kind of the bar. He's still the gatekeeper in this weight class. He's still the guy you have to beat to be considered a contender. So for someone like Wyman to come back at 39 years old after everything he's been through, if he can get past Brad Tavares, I mean, hats off. Just hats off to him. So good luck if you're taking the dog shot. Good luck to Chris Wyman. Happy endings do not exist in MMA unless your name is Robbie Lawler. Maybe we can add Chris Wyman's name to that list, but it's a very exclusive club right now. Pedro Munhoz takes on Marlon Vera. We kind of already went over this one. We've got Munhoz 135, Vera 136. Both guys look fine on the scale. Marlon looked chill. I mean, he got up there and was very, very relaxed. No issues for him whatsoever. Chito, big old size advantage. The one thing I really liked from this one, Chito's so intense in this fight, he didn't even get on the ceremonial scale. He made a beeline for his opponent, Pedro, got right up in his face. And then after they faced off, Dana had to be like, yeah, you gotta go get on the scale. He forgot to go, show off and flex and stand up there and stuff like that. So I don't mind that whatsoever. I mean, for a guy who everyone's talking about, by the way, I got to address this. So literally every single breakdown I've heard this week, every single one, everyone's like, oh, well, you can't trust Chito because he starts slow. He's going to give away round one. You might as well look to live bet him. And, it seems like anytime a narrative gets out there like that, it seems like it becomes so obvious it's such a talking point that the fighters change it. Like, they do something different when everybody knows that's what's happening. Their coaches, they're smart enough to look in it and go, hey, maybe we should do something different. With the intensity that he's bringing, with the embarrassment that he felt. I mean, I listened to an interview with him, and he talked about how after his last fight, he called Dana White and was like, he apologized to Dana White. He's like, I don't know what the fuck that was. I'm so sorry. You don't pay me to fight that way. And when you've got a guy like this, who's a absolute warrior, apologizing to his boss for not showing up to a fight and not fighting with the intensity and urgency that he should and he feels like he's capable of, I think Vera's going to come out hot. And that's why I laid this chalk, because quite frankly, even if we get a competitive round one, do you think we're going to get a better price tag than minus 185 on Chito? Like, I don't think Pedro Munhoz is going to do so well against Chito in round one that we get an even money spot. I just don't. I don't see the world where that exists. The best round one Pedro's had recently was against Dominic Cruz. He rocked him. He dropped him. You know what happened after that? He got rocked and dropped and was on the back foot for the entire rest of the round. So I don't think he's going to come out and smoke Vera in round one and get us a better line. I'm chalking up now. I'm laying the wood on Marlon Vera this week, and I'm playing him inside the distance like I mentioned earlier, because I do think he's going to find a finish. I don't think Pedro Munhoz at this advanced age is ready for the whirlwind that is Chito Vera, coming and never stopping for 15 straight minutes. If he's going to march forward and throw those body and head kicks, I just don't think Pedro's going to be able to take it, being the smaller, older man. We're getting to the good stuff, everybody. I see you in the chat. Definitely smash that like button. Thank you all so much for being here. Next up, you've got Mario Bautista and Damon Blackshear. Mario Bautista 136, Blackshear 135.5. Bautista look fantastic. Face is always a bit sucked out. This is kind of a tough weight class for him to make. We know this, but he looks like he made it no problem, moved well enough. Damon Blackshear, absolutely, my gosh, shredded. Like him and Aljo this week. Dear God, looked fantastic. Huge flex. Gonna try and make some UFC history here with a 7-day turnaround. These guys size up really well. Ever so slight, just little babyest of height advantages here to Damon Blackshear. And I got him at plus 190. 1 unit bet on Damon Blackshear at plus 190. And it's really funny how quickly everybody's jumping off this guy. I actually thought that maybe Blackshear would be a bit of a square dog this week with everybody piling on after his fight last time, but it doesn't seem like anybody's even really paying attention to that. I see a couple people taking the shot, but most people are really counting him out and saying that the quick turnaround, the weight cut, it's going to hurt him. It's going to be a problem. It's not going to help. It's going to be worse. And they're really ready to go on the Bautista side. I think Bautista's suspect. Like, I like the guy. I really do. I love Mario Bautista, but he's been facing a extremely low level of competition recently. And if you watch the Guido Canetti fight, like, he gets reversed twice in the Guido Canetti fight. Guido's a 43-year-old man, and he was able to out grapple him in spurts in round one. Bautista I think also has cardio concerns. He slows down the deeper the fight goes. None of that's true for Damon Blackshear. Blackshear can keep a hard pace up for 15 straight minutes. In fact, he almost spoiled Farad Basharat's UFC debut with that third round triangle choke. He's dangerous late in fights with his subs. I actually think the round 2, round 3 submission sprinkles on Damon Blackshear might be in order here in this spot, because if Bautista can't get this guy off him, and he's got to push a grappling pace for 15 straight minutes, I know Blackshear can keep that. I'm not sure Bautista can. And when this thing gets dangerous late, we've seen what Blackshear is capable of doing. I mean, shit, he just hit a twister, the 4th one in UFC history. Like, those don't happen. The guy is slick on the ground. I think he's going to have a cardio advantage. I think he's going to have a strength advantage. He does have the grappling advantage. It comes down to whether or not Bautista is just that much better than him in the striking. If he can clip him, if he can hurt him, if the quick turnaround does in fact hamper the cardio and gas tank of Damon Blackshear, then we've got a problem. But at any rate, I absolutely think it's a dog or pass spot. I think he's going to capitalize on this hype. I think Blackshear is going to come on in here and go ahead and get another win here at plus 190. And that looks like it's moving down a little bit. I'm seeing plus 170 already out there. And spoiler for those of you who are planning to go listen to me and Andrew's Sharp Action report, he did have a sharp come in today also and bet Damon Blackshear. So definitely some respected action coming in on the dog here in this spot as well. I like it. Which, by the way, just one little tidbit of nugget of information here on this one. I forgot to mention on the Marlon Vera side, they like Marlon. They literally are. Andrew talked to us about how he's playing with the line, trying to entice action on the Pedro Munhoz side. He's raising the line on Chito Vera so that they can get better plus odds on the Munhoz side and get those guys that come in and like scalp off the best prices in the market. They're trying to collect as much Pedro Munhoz money as they possibly can. So in those types of circumstances, I want to be on the bookies side. They also like the Marlon Vera side of things here. So let's freaking go. Big announcement here from our guy Preston in the chat. If you guys didn't know, 90% of you do, we do the free pick'em contest right here on Pub Sports Radio. Big pay-per-view event this week. Pick your fighter, pick your round, pick your method. That's it. It's free to sign up. And we always have a $100 top prize. That's right. You just beat us, beat everybody else in the contest at picking this fight. You win $100. 200 buckaroos, baby. Let's go. Get in that bad boy. Come sign up. Come play. $200 to the winner for free. Nothing to do but sign up and get in there and check it out. Let's go. Ian Machado Garry next up takes on Neil Magny. $170 for each of these guys. I think Magny needed the hook. For some reason, they have him documented at 170. I think it was 170 and a half, actually. But Ian Garry locked in. Big flex up there on the scale today. Look great. No issues. I mean, the confidence that's like radiating off this guy right now is just spectacular. Neil Magny, classic Magny, no issues. He's my guy. Like, he's always prepared. He's always ready. He's got that skinny shredded thing going on because he's so damn tall and lanky. Garry stepped in hard at this face-off, folks. Like, I know they've been chirping at each other, going back and forth basically this entire week, but Ian Garry got in his face and got in his face quick. This was a very intense face-off. He's absolutely under the skin of Neil Magny, especially with the whole, like, shutting him down and shushing him thing at the press conference. Like, you could tell that really bothered Neil Magny in that spot. So the disrespect is real, and I think it's justified. Ian Garry, I am so big on this week. Like, it's almost sickening how hard I went on Ian Garry. So let me just go ahead and preface this. I know I preach bankroll management. I know I talk about everybody being careful and not overextending on any one spots, and that's always my mantra. But I am up 90 units for this year, and I want that 100-unit mark, and I really want to make a giant splash at UFC 292. I want this to be a massive weekend for me. I am abusing the lines that I think I see value on this week, and rather than taking a controlled, weighted approach, I'm fucking going for it. Yeah, win, lose, or draw, next week we are right back to your usual game plan of making sure we take things nice, light, and slow. But we're not doing that right now. I have got 4.05 units on Ian Garry inside the distance at minus 135 to win 3 units. And then I also have 2 units. You heard that correctly. 2 entire units. Usually it's a half unit on Ian Garry by submission at plus 650. We made DraftKings move that line. It is currently sitting at plus 550 on DraftKings after we got that hit out there. And I think Ian Garry is going to make Neil Magny want to shoot. And we know Magny's game plan is always to pin people up against the fence and force the grappling. And he's going to try and bully Ian Garry physically. He's not a guy that has a whole lot of power on the feet. The speed, the power of Garry is going to make Neil Magny want to grapple. And the way he's been finished has been by those submissions. He leaves his neck out there. He leaves those opportunities. We've seen a lot of high elbow guillotines, darces, and ninja chokes lately. That's really been kind of the UFC young generation bread and butter as of late, to get these fighters that are older there, that are hurt, that are tired, leaving their neck out there. Now, I don't expect Neil Magny to get tired. Let me make that clear. He's not going to get tired, but he will get tired of getting hit in the face. Ian Garry is so fast. He is so crisp. Once Magny gets a little bit rocked or wobbled, he's going to come forward. And the one thing we haven't seen from Garry is him flexing his grappling. He's so good on the ground, people just have no idea. And also, Magny's really tough to knock out. He's a guy who's been super tough and durable his entire career, and the majority of his losses are by submission. So I really think this is a spot where Ian Garry is going to hurt him on the feet, and then he's going to put him away with a choke round 2. That's the prediction, folks, and I'm fucking going for it. Like I said, usually I would put a half unit on the submission shot. I put 2 full units on it. I'm ready to go to war in this spot. I'm ready for the entire bag. I want to take my wife and child to Disneyland after I cash these tickets on Saturday. Like, I'm going for it. And if I fall on my face and if I look stupid and I hand 10 units back to the bookie, I will dust myself off and I'll get right back to grinding next week. And we'll go back to our smaller, more stable game plan of chipping away and working our way up. I'll be returning to that game plan even if I win. But we're going to go for the whole damn thing. We're going to go for the whole damn package on Saturday. Let's freaking go. Matt in the chat asking if I think it goes over 1.5. That's where it gets sketchy. I do think it goes over 1.5, mostly because Neil is a really tough guy to finish. So yes, I do think it will squeeze over that 1.5 round mark. I would rather personally go with like fight starts round 2. I don't know what the price difference is between those two things, but I think that I think it gets to round 2. How long into round 2, though, I am not sure. I wouldn't be shocked. Here's the thing. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a more aggressive Neil Magny, because of the way Ian Garry's been talking, the way he embarrassed him, the comments about the child beating and all that stuff. Like, if he gets under Magny's skin to the point that Magny comes out a little faster, this fight could end earlier. So that's, I really just don't like the total, quite frankly. That's my thing. And the one thing I will say is I think if you do find yourself in a position like me where you're so loaded up on this one side, Magny is a massive underdog in this spot. And he's also a decision machine. You hedge out with Neil Magny by decision. Like, I don't see him finishing Ian Garry. He's not going to sub this guy. He doesn't have the power to knock him out. Like, yeah, maybe he gets him on the ground and like pounds away at him, but Magny's like a split decision guy. He wins round 2 and round 3 and he extends the fight that way. That's how he wins his fights. You get a big fat juicy number on Magny by decision, and that can hedge basically all of your Ian Garry bets for one low price and win it all back the other way if Magny finds a way to go ahead and win the fight. All right, let's wrap this up. We've got the co-main event. Weili Zhang takes on Amanda Lemos. Weili came in at 115 on the dot championship weight. Lemos came in at 114. She came in under. And Zhang looked fantastic. I mean, she was enjoying herself. She was relaxed. She was flexing up there. No problem for her. And then Lemos looked rough. She looked awful up there. Her face was sucked out badly. She was taking in these big old deep breaths. Her mouth was dry. Her eyes were heavy. She looked a whole lot better at the ceremonials. You could tell she got an IV hooked up to her there, and she looked way better at the ceremonials. This was a good, intense face-off. And Lemos, interestingly enough, looked like she was a little bit taller than Weili Zhang, which is funny because when they did the promotional press conference yesterday, it looked like Zhang was the taller fighter. I wondered if maybe that had something to do with the shoes that they were wearing, but looks like Lemos does have a slight height advantage here, but Zhang has a much thicker head, by the way, and she's just got a much thicker body in general. This is a spot where I really think it's Weili Zhang. I know obviously Lemos can finish early. I think that weight cut is going to be a problem. We have seen Lemos slow down in a 15-minute high-paced fight before. Now imagine a 25-minute high-paced fight. Like, Zhang is not going to give her much opportunity to catch her breath here. I think Lemos is kind of locked in at like rounds 1 and 2. She really needs that early finish with that big power. Otherwise, she's just outclassed. Like, she is a beast of a fighter. She hits hard. She's an athletic specimen, but she's older. The technique isn't there. She doesn't know what she's doing on the ground. She's got that one, power jumping guillotine move that she pulls. That's the only thing that she's got on the ground. So if this fight gets extended, Weili Zhang is the much more well-rounded fighter, the better wrestler, the better submission grappler. I do have a 1-unit shot on Weili Zhang by sub at plus 400. I was sleeping at the wheel on this one. They opened that line up at plus 550, and I'm pissed because I looked at it for like 2 days at plus 550 and didn't jump on it, and then it dropped to plus 400. So I'm in on it. 4-1 isn't as sexy. I still think it makes sense, but I think she's going to get the finish here. And same thing with the inside the distance. I should have laid it when it was minus 120 earlier in the week. It's minus 150 now. That's not enough for me to cry over spilled milk. I haven't actually made that bet yet. I just have the sub bet at this point. I'm probably going to add Zhang inside the distance at minus 115 to cover it, just in case she does work with her hands instead of getting the submission. But I do think the sub is more likely than the knockout personally. Tough spot. The other thing for me is I've got so much invested on the Ian Garry fight and the main event. I don't want like a bunch of little plays. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird because I've got these 2 big spots that I'm going hard on. And if I gave away like 3 or 4 units on just these like little one-shot pokes throughout the night, and it was somehow dampening to my giant score, assuming I win both my big bets, I'd be a little sad. I'd be a sad boy. I would be a little upset about giving money back that way. So I'm trying not to go crazy, but it's such a good card. There's so many spots that I like really, really like that I'm trying to, get some little pokes on and stuff like that. So I do like Zhang. I like Zhang inside the distance. And honestly, I think it's going to go a little bit later. One thing I saw that I do want to let you guys know, if you have FanDuel, they kind of combine all the stuff together. If you go to their UFC betting cards and you find the popular section, they actually combine rounds and methods for you. So it's not like most other books, you can do the round and the method, like KO round 1, KO round 2. But over on FanDuel, they'll actually give you the opportunity to like string some of those together. So I saw there's a prop combo here. Where'd it go? Give me a second. I think it's Zhang by sub in rounds 3, 4, or 5. There we go. Under the... Oh, wait a second. That's featured. Where did it go? See, they've got too many damn options here on these big cards. I'm complaining, but thank you. I love having all the options because we can definitely find some stuff. I don't know. It's in one of these double chance things. Here we go. KO, TKO, submission round combos. There you go. If you find the submission round combos under this breakdown, you can find it. And it's Zhang by sub in rounds 3, 4, or 5. And it's 14-1. I like that. I like that a lot because I think rounds 1 and 2 are mostly going to be Lemos. Round 2 might get a little hairy, especially if Zhang comes out grappling hard. But if we like the sub, we think it's going to be later. Group rounds 3, 4, and 5 together and get 14-1. That sounds like a pretty damn good sprinkle to me. I don't mind that one little bit. All right, folks, main event time. It's what you're here for. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you have not done it already. If you're sitting in here with the other 250 people watching the show and you haven't hit the like button, what are you doing with your lives? Come on, help a boy out. Next up, you got Aljamain Sterling taking on Sean O'Malley. Both guys made 135 pounds. Aljamain Sterling made it look easy. There was a lot of talk about the champ and how he was going to struggle with this weight cut. I mentioned the extra quick turnaround. Seems like the UFC was trying to stack the deck a little bit, make him cut weight a little quicker than he would have liked to. He made it look easy. No issues whatsoever. Giant smile on his face, and he was shredded. I mean, he's armed to the teeth coming in here to this fight. Sugar Sean O'Malley came up on the scale, and he looked rough. He was wearing the sunglasses, and there's like a very small handful of fighters that get the pass on the sunglasses because they just wear it every single time and not only when they feel sick. And O'Malley's one of those guys. He gets the pass because he's always got the sunglasses on, regardless of how he looks. But honestly, he got off the scale like immediately. It was one of those ones where he looked tough. He wanted out of there. He wanted to rehydrate. He was not having it. Tough weight cut. So interesting that O'Malley was kind of poking and prodding Aljamain Sterling for the weight cut when he's the one that seems to have struggled this weekend. When they face off, Aljamain Sterling obviously has the height advantage here on the spot. He's a big dude for 135. He really is. But I'll tell you, he was locked in. Like, Aljamain was talking the entire time. I mean, he's talking smack. He's getting in his face. He's mocking him. I did like the green, by the way, the green and the rose for Aljo. I thought that was a good touch. But O'Malley just stared him down. I mean, dead silence, locked eyes, and just stared into his soul. I got to tell you guys, I know that doesn't mean anything as far as how the fight's going to play out. It doesn't actually have any effect on what's going to occur in the cage tomorrow, but I love it. Like, when you've got a guy whose whole thing is being boisterous, talking better than his opponents, getting up there and finding ways to joke and goof on them. And even when he's amped up and he's like, at the pre-fight presser, when he's like screaming at the crowd and stuff like that, like, the fact that O'Malley went serious time. And he knows the challenge he's got ahead of him in the champion, the guy that's carrying the GOAT moniker right now for the weight class. And he's looking him in the eye and he's not blinking. I got chills. I really think it's Sugar Sean O'Malley time. I really do. I've got a 5-unit bomb on Sugar Sean O'Malley at plus 215. Like I said before, bankroll management this week is being thrown out the fucking window. I should have a 1-unit play. Maybe a 2-unit if I'm feeling ballsy. I went 5. 5 units on Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think the UFC wants him to win this fight. We've seen Aljamain Sterling have a little bit of chinks in the armor. He's had a tough time with a couple of his opponents. He drops that left hand. Henry Cejudo was landing the right high kick time and time again in that fight. He's just too short and too stubby to actually make it count. The long, lanky, rangy Sean O'Malley is going to find those shots that the other fighters were not able to. And there's also a physicality difference. This is something that I think a lot of people maybe aren't taking into account. He out-wrestled Henry Cejudo, so he's going to have no problem putting Sean O'Malley down. One thing Sean O'Malley talked about is in the fight leading up to the Petr Yan fight, he was not expecting grappling. They didn't train grappling at all for that fight. They were completely taken off guard by the fact that Yan shot for takedowns in that spot. So for him to not have drilled takedowns whatsoever, but to still have done all the right things to get back up to his feet and get where he needed to be to win that fight and pull off the split decision, I'm impressed. Now he's had a whole year off, knowing exactly what his opponent is doing and being able to drill and train for the one exact thing that he has to watch out for. I think he's going to be prepared. And he's much larger than the last couple of opponents that Aljamain Sterling has faced. And I know it's not Aljo's fault that TJ Dillashaw was in there with one arm the last time out. But guys, I swear, Aljamain Sterling does not beat a healthy TJ Dillashaw. He doesn't, ever. TJ wipes the floor with Aljamain Sterling if he is 95% healthy in that spot. I swear it. I would put any amount of money on that bet. If they rebook that fight, if TJ gets healthy and they stick him back in there and they match him up with Aljamain Sterling, I will put so much money on that. You have no idea. TJ is levels above Aljamain Sterling and people just don't get it. At any rate, Aljamain squeezed by a couple of opponents, and I think O'Malley has to just avoid the backpack. And if he avoids that position, he will land the cleaner strikes on the feet. Aljamain doesn't really like getting hurt. The optics are going to be bad with him on his knees and putting his hands down and covering his head up. He doesn't react well to those types of big power shots. I think O'Malley is going to pick him apart on the feet. I think he will keep the distance and keep the range. He might even have one of those moments. What was the what was the meme where he's like the CJ Vergara, where he's like sprinting across the cage to get away? Obviously, he won't be hurt or rocked doing that, but he will be running for his life to keep his legs out of the takedown offense of Aljamain Sterling. And if he can stay away from him in those moments, he's just going to land better, cleaner shots. Sean O'Malley is going to knock Aljamain Sterling out with a right high kick in the second round on Saturday, folks. I'm here for it. I'm ready. I'm cashing these tickets. I cannot wait for this weekend. My balls are on the table. Like I always say, you always trust your balls, and I have done that this week. Huge investment on Ian Garry, huge investment on Sugar Sean O'Malley, and those are the spots that I really need to come home for me on Saturday, because it's going to be red panty night if they do. That is the undefeated post-weigh-in show, folks. I got one little nugget here before we bounce. PFL starts in 15 minutes, and I did go ahead and link up a greasy little parlay for this one. Dennis Goltsov inside the distance, plus Larissa Pacheco inside the distance. It's minus 167, so I did 1.67 units to win one. Goltsov should smoke this guy. He's a Ultimate Fighter throwaway, doesn't have much of a chin. As much as I think Goltsov is a flawed fighter, he's better than this dude. He's bigger, he's stronger, he can wrestle. Goltsov is going to get him out of there, and probably early. Larissa Pacheco, I know it's gross to lay chalk on like a women's MMA finish, but this is a woman who's being brought in to get her back on track. She has already finished this girl twice in the first round. So it's not a rematch where we can expect she can do the same thing as last time. It is the third fight. This is a trilogy. And they're going, please just finish her again so we can make you look good for the PFL tournament. That's what's happening. So those two to get a finish, you got to lay a little bit of chalk on it. I think it's happening. And then I'm going to root my ass off for Maurice Green. You guys know I've got this weird soft spot for Maurice Green. I don't know why, but the entire PFL heavyweight class is exceptionally weak. Like, they will talk to you about how strong and how good they are and how they could compete at the UFC level. They can't. They're terrible. They're awful. And so somebody like Maurice Green, believe it or not, has a chance against Renan Ferreira in this spot. Now, if Renan's made improvements and he takes him down, he will just knock Maurice Green out in the first round. But if he doesn't do that, and if Maurice Green, God forbid, gets on top of him, that sub prop at 10-1, it's got my attention. I might live bet Maurice Green. Like, if he survives round one and Ferreira looks like he's not getting back up to the feet as well as he should, if he gets, taken down once or twice or something, I might actually live bet Maurice Green. You probably don't want to do that. It's literally lighting money on fire. But I think the inside the distance parlay is going to go ahead and hit. Thank you all so much for being here with me. Let's make some motherfucking money. I'm ready. That's the undefeated post weigh-in show. Let's roll. Kick some ass.